Hey everyone, welcome back to Manhwa Station. Before diving into this part, I highly recommend watching the previous parts of the story. If you haven't, simply click the card above and catch up. For those who have already watched, please continue on with me as I move deeper into the story. A link to the playlist can also be found in the video description. With that, let's move into the story. Previously, Jared suspected that bandits were behind this ambush. More arrows were being shot, and even though Jared has been easily handling the defense using shield magic, Hayes threw herself in front of Jared to use her body as the shield. Jared scolded her on her recklessness and ordered her to stay put in the carriage. He went out to see who dared to ambush him. Isabella offered her help but Jared refused, saying he could handle it himself. Jared used a shield screen and moved towards the ambushers. The ambush was led by Tog, known as the predatory murder of magicians on request of a certain masked man. Jared heard it and figured that it might be the same masked man who fought Rakis on the roof. Tog rushed towards Jared with a rotation/attack, and in the blink of an eye, Tog was in front of Jared. Jared responded with haste magic and used a magic missile, which was immediately put out by Tog, and he took a hard hit at Jared. Jared casted a shield which protected him and complimented Tog by saying that his name is not just for decoration, he actually is strong. Tog couldn't believe how Jared defended against his hard blow, so he kept attacking to avoid giving Jared any opportunity to counter-attack. Just when Tog thought he would make Jared run out of mana, Jared easily caught his magical artifact, a dual-faced X, as Jared did not have any artifact. He told Tog that he will be taking this. Tog couldn't believe how easily he had been overpowered and he could see his fate, so he tried to bargain for his life by offering the information of his client, the masked man. Jared was also curious about the masked man, but he would never trust the word of a criminal, so he used Tog's axe to land the killing blow. After these events, we see a young merchant locked in a carriage, thinking about the saying that goes, a merchant without money won't be able to buy any luck. This merchant goes by the name of Iki, who couldn't afford better guards and now will have to die at the hands of Tog. From the bars in the door, Aki saw the masked man handing over a bag full of coins to Tog and giving him the task of killing a medicinal merchant. The masked man figured that the medicine Jared made cured the whole Caribbean, and as it is easy to make, he will go to Ronaldo to gain their favor in exchange for this medicine. Hence, he brought Tog to his route and promised to pay 2/3 of the money after the job is done. Aki was still locked in Tog's carriage and was hoping for a strong man to avenge the people Tog has killed. Upon witnessing Jared's single blow that ended Tog's life, Aki was amazed by the sight of a warrior who would save him. He gave Jared a thank you hug and was so impressed that he wouldn't let go. Aki had heard about the Caribbean's magic stone, so he set out to buy it for himself, but he was ambushed and robbed by Tog on his way. Jared apologized for the lack of security, but Aki was already too overwhelmed by his life being saved. Archines was actually a top NPC from the eastern continent who had bought a kingdom using his astronomical prosperity. He had a really good eye for market trends and would always manage to be the pioneer of new trends. New players who registered as merchants would often try to follow his lead. Jared was now confused about what a large figure from the eastern continent was doing on the northern border, specifically in his territory. Jared couldn't waste such an opportunity, so he proposed a deal to Iki. He would pay 15% commission of all the profits that Iki would make by selling Jared's product in Ronella territory. Iki thought for a moment and proposed a different deal. Instead of 15%, he asked for 2 wishes to be granted. For now, Iki only disclosed one of his wishes and saved another for next time. His first wish, which he disclosed while blushing, was for Jared to call him by his nickname, Aki. There were some censored words from Isabella losing it all over no more Jared, her imaginary life partner. Ronella territory was not as dull as Jared expected. Instead, it was a lively territory with great potential for big future developments. Once the Ronella disease was taken care of, Jared helped Aki set up his business in a great spot. Jared set the barrel that contained the medicine, however, there was a systematic limitation. A small bottle was filled from the tap at the bottom of this barrel, and no more could be obtained until 24 hours. Jared handed the bottle to Aki and asked him to get a contract signed by the buyer as well. That contract would transfer the ownership of this medicine to the buyer. Aki found a guy named Talon who was suffering from Ronella's disease and, with his exceptional salesman skills, he sold the medicine to him for a low price of 1 gold. Afterwards, he got Talon's signature on the contract and, for Talon's satisfaction, Jared promised to pay him 1,000 gold coins if the medicine didn't work. Aki then left to do some advertising for their product. As the ownership of the medicine had been transferred, that means the 24-hour limitation had also been transferred to the buyer and Jared could produce more medicine. This is the production skill that Jared and Hayes had been waiting for. They had been waiting for 2 hours for Aki's return. Suddenly, they heard stomping sounds coming their way. A large group of people were running in Jared's direction, and in front of all of them was the merchant, Aki. All of these people were here to buy the medicine and were pushing each other to buy first. For today, the people of Ronella could buy this medicine for Aki, but for the future, they would have to visit Caribia. In Caribia, this medicine would only cost 39 gold coins instead of 100 at the Anima Empire. Aki had quite efficiently managed to advertise and sell Jared's product. The day passed and Jared was sitting on the hotel balcony at night, analyzing the day's sales. He had earned 12,250 gold in just one day. Aki, who sneaked up from behind, asked for his compensation for today's sales. Jared remembered that Aki's second wish was still to be granted. What Aki had asked for was to become his vassal and run a trading company under Jared's direct supervision. After watching Aki's performance that day, Jared was already impressed by his skills and aware of his potential. Therefore, he was already considering taking him as his vassal. Without any objection, Jared acknowledged his skills and agreed to his demand. Aki was overjoyed to receive a promotion to deputy rank due to Jared's exceptional production bug skills. He had raised his skills to level 35 and acquired 2 new skills, enabling him to produce 24 bottles of medicine per day for a minimum of 900 gold coins in daily revenue. As the medicine was only sold in the Caribia, the number of hunters visiting the territory had increased, resulting in a rise in the number of mana stones. This increase in prosperity also led to a decrease in monster attacks on the citizens. The fame of the Caribia was spreading, and Jared, on horseback, was traveling to a remote location. Isabella grew worried about Jared's journey to a place with no human presence and tried to prevent him from what she believed was suicide. However, Jared was actually going to capture the Deluk, a cursed black magician who could imprison souls and turn people into undead creatures. Jared was confident in his defense and attack skills against Deluk, who was sealed in the Silver Mountain Fortress. The Demon King had lifted the luck seal in the Great War, bestowing the luck with eternal life and causing all players to suffer. Now was the best time to strike as the luck was getting stronger and no magic or sword would be enough to defeat it. Upon hearing this, Isabella became suspicious of Jared and asked if he was a god in disguise, as he knew too much. Jared finally reached the Silver Mountain and began searching for the luck. He found a small gap leading to a place where he had to climb high inside the mountain to reach the Deluk place. This location was filled with traps, as evidenced by the frozen corpses at the entrance. Jared found a shortcut through a permeable wall, a secret passage only he had discovered, avoiding the dangerous, trap-filled route and leading directly to Deluk. The secret passage led to the treasure room, which players could only reach by defeating Deluk. The room was filled with treasure. Jared was on a quest to find the mischievous glutton melt ring, which was actually an infinitely expanding storage space. Isabella, who was an evil spirit, felt apprehensive about going against the Lick, as even she was no match for him. Jared explained to her that they were not the ones who were stealing, but instead they were taking back what the Lick had stolen from humans. Jared donned another necklace and earring artifacts and prepared for battle against the Lick, who was depicted as a long-bearded old man chained to the seat of reflection. The Lick Deluk was hoping to be freed so that he could turn all of humanity into undead creatures. However, Jared took the Lick by surprise by appearing from behind and launching a fire missile attack. The skin of the old man was burnt off, revealing his skeletal form. The Lick was shocked and asked Jared how he was able to pass through all the magical illusions and traps. The Lick, as a former wizard, had exchanged his humanity for eternal power and strength. But as he had no physical body, he was forced to use a magical avatar as a vessel for his life force. Deluk lost his vessel to a saint and was chained to a body. To avoid absorbing the life-threatening black magic, Jared makes sure to maintain a safe distance while fighting Deluk. Having fought him several times before while playing this game, Jared knows the best approach. However, Jared's attacks alone might not have had any effect. But with the amplifier artifact he was wearing, the power was felt by Deluk in his bones. Realizing that Jared was a threat, Deluk tried to cast a spell to kill him immediately. But Jared was aware of the power of Deluk's attack and acted quickly. Seeing that his initial approach was not working, Deluk ordered his knights to rise and take Jared down. He constructed this location with his knights stationed around his throne, monitoring all. As the undead arose, Jared and Isabella were filled with dread. Jared charged at Deluk, battling him in close combat to prevent any powerful spells from being cast. Isabella assumed control of dealing with the undead, freeing Jared to tackle the greater threat. With her support, Jared emerged victorious over Deluk, utilizing his lightning attack and casting 2 spells at once. Deluk attempted a final attack with what little power remained, but Jared effortlessly dodged and delivered the killing strike, granting Deluk a true taste of death. However, Deluk didn't die. Instead, he became extremely angry and his sudden burst of power shocked Jared. It was time for another round. Deluk began to unleash multiple attacks on Jared, leaving no opportunity for Jared to counterattack. Even when Jared tried to cast a spell, Deluk easily dismissed it. Deluk increased the potency of Deluk's magic to such a level that Jared's shield was shattered. Just when Jared was about to receive a fatal blow, Isabella saved him. Deluk then destroyed the undead body that Isabella had inhabited, leaving it as a one-on-one battle. Jared was taken aback by Deluk's power, but he remained confident that he could defeat Deluk as long as he remained focused. Jared realized that, like every other monster in Paradiso, Deluk followed the same set pattern of attack and defense. Therefore, Jared was already well informed about Deluk. Jared approached Deluk and it was finally time for Jared to use his trump card. Deluk, who still believed that Jared was just a third-class magician, was now met with a fourth-class attack at full strength. Jared finally succeeded in neutralizing Deluk completely, but Deluk refused to give up and die. There was no way he could be revived from the state Jared had left him in. A fourth-class magician had defeated a ninth-class magician, and as he lay dying, Deluk asked why Jared had done this. Jared revealed that he sought Deluk's most powerful symbol of monarchy. Deluk couldn't believe what he was hearing, but at the same time, he was both amazed and curious about what Jared had planned. Deluk died and left behind a bracelet, the very artifact that Jared had desired. Isabella was also surprised to see how Jared didn't care about how strong his opponent was and simply rushed to the artifact. She then discovered a strange book lying on the ground with the title Deluk Revival Spell. Isabella asked Jared if it was possible for the resurrected being to have a relationship with its master where it is impossible to disobey, and does the spirit die with the master as well? Both questions were answered in the affirmative. Isabella was not thrilled about the idea of becoming a slave instead of having a bilateral relationship. However, this was not what Jared was after. Jared's ultimate goal was to increase their magic resistance and tolerance, and for that, Isabella needed to bind herself to Jared and undergo cursed magic repeatedly. Isabella agreed, and she took on the body of a human girl. Jared had to carry Isabella as she was not yet comfortable in this new form, which was that of a beautiful young lady with golden hair and red eyes. As they made their way out of the mountain, they came across numerous dead bodies, but fortunately, most of the traps had been disabled. Nevertheless, they were still wondering about the fate of the girl whose body Isabella now occupied. Isabella hoped that this girl did not become an evil spirit, as that would be a difficult and lonely existence. Instead, she decided to make the most of this new life by indulging in delicious food, trying out new dresses and makeup. Jared smiled, as he was thrilled to have a lively and trustworthy partner like Isabella. The king of Ronella was anxious about losing more monster hunters from his region, as many of them had relocated to Caribia in search of the cure, and some had stayed there for hunting purposes. To tackle this problem, the king had spent a fortune to steal the cure, but even after obtaining the sample, they were unable to get their hands on the recipe, as recreating the formula was too difficult. If this is how Jared wants to play the game, then the king says, bring it on. The king of Majorca was planning to immediately wage war against Caribia, but with only 1239 skilled men at his disposal, war was still not an option. He regretted not using Gragas to poison Jared in the past, when he was still a fat idiot, to ensure that Gragas did not reveal the truth about their alliance. Sir Perua had sent an assassin to eliminate Gragas. Horgus, the great guide of Majorca, was summoned by the king. He brought with him the magicians requested by the king. An attack right away was feared to wipe Caribia off the world. Meanwhile, Jared traveled with a small group of knights to the woods at the end of the northern region, which was sandwiched between Majorca and Ronella. Both territories had been quarreling over the land, but Jared was there to make a deal with the tribe of red goblins that lived there. As soon as they arrived, the red goblins surrounded them, and Ibaneba, the leader, came forth to greet Jared. Ibaneba asked the reason for the meeting, and Jared shared his intention to establish diplomatic relations and acquire iron and gold. Ibaneba asked whether Jared had what they wanted, and the soldiers brought loads of nightmare stones, which were beautiful stones commonly found by monster hunters in the nightmare forest, but were almost worth nothing. Rakis and others got worried that the goblins might see it as an insult, but to their surprise, Ibaneba absolutely loved the nightmare stones and thanked Jared greatly. The deal was signed by both parties, and they looked forward to growing their relationship in the future. When Ibaneba ordered the goblins, they brought lots of supplies of iron and gold and handed them over to Jared's men. Ibaneba signaled that he trusted Jared and there was no longer any need to be cautious. From the shadows, the Dark Elves, an extremely hostile race that lived further in the north, appeared. Ibaneba was an intelligent goblin with various connections to other tribes, and Jared's men finally realized that if they had attacked the red goblins blindly, their bodies would have disappeared. Everyone celebrated the new brotherhood that had just been formed. Jared asked Rakis about the current outlook of his army, and Rakis informed him that they were missing materials to forge new weapons for new recruits, so they had been focusing on repairing what they already had. Jared ordered Rakis to put all focus on mass-producing more weapons as soon as they took the iron from the red goblins back home. Furthermore, Jared guided Rakis to use a portion of the gold to recruit more soldiers for the army and appointed Sir Rakis as the head of recruitment. Ibn realized that the purpose of the deal was to enable Caribia to go to war with Mayorica, which Jared did not deny. Instead, he apologized if the goblins were offended by their main reason for creating the deal. Ibn also hated Horgus, and the amount of iron and gold was nothing to them, so they had no issue. It had been 4 weeks since Isabella, now known as Isabel, was resurrected. Jared introduced her as his classmate from the academy in the Desmond Empire. She quickly adapted to their lifestyle and helped Jared increase his magic defense levels on a daily basis using illusion magic, which shows the enemy's greatest fear. In Jared's case, it was a spider. Jared's defense has risen to 34 points, and on the Eastern Continent's calendar, he offered Isabella 3 candies in his hand on February 14th, explaining that if a woman gifts a man chocolate, the man must reciprocate. Though Isabella thought Jared was showing affection, he gave candy to all the women in the mansion. She reminded him that their contract, bound by their kiss, was eternal and felt like a marriage agreement. As war preparations continued, Jared's focus was on the Nurture Project, aimed at discovering and recruiting promising talents before others can get to them. As the teacher of these new recruits, Jared receives bonus points for their progress, with Isabella being his biggest contributor. However, his other 2 students, Lena and Mia, have yet to make much progress, and the same goes for the healer Jared decided to teach Hayes before all others. Becoming a healer requires immense focus and is a highly regarded ability, with only 5 healers existing in the entire Nasu continent. However, Jared's attempt to teach Hayes the art of healing has been a challenge. The main issue is that Hayes has been unable to reconcile her sense of identity with that of a healer, having served as a maid for the past 23 years. Instead of forcing her, Jared has decided to give Hayes the space and support she needs to come to terms with her new role. While on his way to his mansion, Jared was ambushed by an assassin, who delivered a fatal blow. Despite the urgency of the situation, Jared's guards and Hayes arrived too late to save him. Filled with emotions and memories, Hayes took charge and pushed herself to heal Jared. With tears in her eyes and a strong will, she finally succeeded in becoming a healer. That marks the end of the 3rd part of the Manhwa recap. I am going to bed now. Before that, subscribe to Manhwa Station and turn notifications on, and also comment your favorite moments down to let me know that you want another part. See you in the next video. Stay tuned to the Manhwa Station. See you all.